So today's rant comes from a couple sources. One is the speculation about the U.S. running out of javelins. That we've had a few news reports of, hey, we've sent a lot of javelins and we don't make that many, and there's concern that we're going to run low on them. And even here we have uh, this guy at CSIS talking about, we could run out of javelins before the Russians run out of tanks. And it's like, well, only if you count their like deep storage of 10,000. The Russians only have like 2,000 tanks. They've already lost 20%. So, okay, sorry, Mark, I just don't think your logic applies. The thing, though, is when we talk about javelins, is the U.S. running out? I just am like, hey, look, if we want to take out tanks, we have other things than javelins. In fact, the Army's old school view is that the best anti-tank weapon is a tank. And so, we have M1s. But if we don't have tanks handy, we have aircraft, whether it be an F-35, an F-15 Strike Eagle, the venerable A-10 Warthog tank destroyer, which is itself a tank, anti-tank, and then we have the Apache. And so, my thing is, before an American troop uses a javelin, there are layers of lethality they would have to get through. So I'm kind of like, worrying about running out of javelins is like, hey, we're running out of pistols, but we still have plenty of rifles. Maybe it's not quite like running out of bayonets, but still having bullets. But this is my point. So I think people are a little bit of hand wringing going on. Meanwhile, we have much more lethal stuff going to them. We're giving the Ukrainians 200 M113 armored personnel carriers, basically a box on treads, a venerable Vietnam era, and so we're going to have 200 of them, which will help them drive around with their javelins or do whatever they need to do on the battlefield. We're also, I believe, going to be sending them 11 helicopters. Yay! The big thing, though, is we're going to send them Firefinder radar. And this is a little radar, and this is the radar dish. It doesn't look like one. It's just a flat panel, but that's a phased array radar. It's pointing away from us right now. And the point about this radar is it's for target acquisition. When somebody shoots a artillery or mortar round in the air, the radar figures out where it came from and says, there they are. And having 10 of these, 10 is kind of a lot, right? That's kind of a lot of those things. You don't have that many. You don't use that many. And having those will allow the Ukrainians to target Russian artillery and fire back at them. And in a lot of ways, the tanks are a problem, but when it comes to the civilian deaths, the artillery has been doing a lot more damage. And so giving them something that lets them target Russian artillery is, problematic, which may be why the Ukrainians are worried, not the Ukrainians, the Russians are worried about, there we go. Moscow sends a warning. They send it to Marsh complaining about our weapons. And that's an interesting thing to me. Like, okay, you can complain about them, but you guys, what are you threatening? You're threatening unpredicted consequences. So you're not making a concrete threat, and which leaves one open, right? And we have a lot of speculation, right? Zelensky is telling the world we should be prepared for Putin to use nuclear weapons, which might be. But, this is my thing is like, look, what's he got left to threaten us with, right? I mean, he could cut off gas, I suppose, to Europe. But, anything he does more violent, right, just will escalate. And my thought is that, look, NATO is sitting on much more latent threat, right? There's more undeployed threat on NATO's side than there is on Russia's side. So it's really a weak hand. And so unless Putin completely ignores power dynamics and is making, a lot of it seems to be bluster, right? Oh, we're going to do this. And he at one point said, oh, we're taking our strategic forces up to a special state of readiness. And then, the U.S. is like, yeah, we didn't see any change, right? That sounds a lot more like it. I could be wrong on this. There could be something he's planning, but in a lot of ways, these threats seem increasingly hollow to me.